tension. Woo! The first bit of Love Island news.
And we saw Tom Cruise because he's obviously great mates with Lewis Hamilton,
Right,
isn't he?
exactly.
Great, Rancy, thanks very much indeed. Still ahead on Good Morning Britain. We're keeping the British flag flying.
Travel and weather, wherever you are.
In a moment.
The soundtrack to many people's afternoon is set to change as a member of radio royalty, Steve Wright, announced he's leaving his afternoon show on Radio 2 to be replaced by Scott Mills.
Well, loyal fans have expressed their outrage at the BBC's decision. The broadcaster is being accused of ageism. Following the announcement, the 67-year-old presenter spoke out, seemed in good spirits, despite the near 24-year-long run of his afternoon show coming to an end.
And that's just Radio 2. I mean, before that, he was the afternoon show on Radio 1 as well. I mean, it's like 40 years.
He's a legend, of course.
But Steve hinted that despite boasting that millions of listeners, the decision is out of his hands.
Evolve over time, and after nearly 24 years of Steve Wright in the afternoon, we wanted to explore a new weekday afternoon schedule on Radio 2. There were no other factors involved in the decision. It does put a lot of pressure on Scott Mills, doesn't it? Because as Peter says, you know, one of the key things about the reason that you love and listen to a program...
Steve Wright, national treasures.
Ed Balls.
Look what happened to them. What I'm worried about.
Right, well, let's have a look at what's happening with the weather, because it is going to be hot, hot, hot. Here's Laura. Laura, thank you very much. Still to come, find out why the Redknaps celebrated...
During the actual
Yes,
meal.
during the actual meal.
I wonder who... I mean, why don't they just keep quiet? I mean, you know, can you imagine being the person who says, excuse me?
Oh, but it's, you know, why not celebrate twice? 54 is also an epic achievement.
Plus, are we heading for another Omicron wave?
Well, for a bumpy ride over the coming months, with figures showing around 2 infected.
So is it time to reintroduce restrictions? We've had lots of comments since we discussed this with Dr. Hillary before 7 o'clock. Susan writes in by email, I don't understand why the government hasn't made wearing masks mandatory indefinitely. I won't go anywhere without my mask. But then on the other side, Kel on Twitter, my GP told me Friday that common illnesses are seriously on the rise because of people being masked and isolated for so long that our bodies have forgotten how to fight them. So very different views. Here's what concert goers at London's Hyde Park told us. Hospital
trusts have decided to drop the requirement to wear masks.
Yeah, apart from Cornwall, who are reinstated up to deal with these people now, but it's not enough. And what they can do now is provide clear, concise, sensible messages that people can adopt and know why they're taking those measures.
All right. Dr. Hillary, thanks very much indeed. Professor Riker, thank you for your time as well this morning. 7:48. Still to come, Britain's final hope. So, 7 minutes to 8, Cameron Norrie breezed through to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon for the first time in his career.
So could Norrie go all the way? Joining us now is professional tennis player Naomi Brodie, whose brother Liam unfortunately didn't make it through to week 2 of the tournament. But let's be honest, getting there is amazing. So can he do it? Can he go all the way?
Yeah, he did so fantastically well, didn't he, Liam?
Points. He said after the match, I'm the last Brit left, so why not get behind me even more now? He's
now to get through, you know, the next 2 rounds, get to the final, because, I mean, it's not like just another round. It gets very intense at this point, doesn't it?
It is. He's got a great opportunity, though, to get through at least the semi-final, and then after that, who knows what can happen, because he'd look a good day.
Yeah,
thank you, Naomi.
Well, we can let you know now, because Laura has the weather forecast. People dead after a shooting at a shopping mall in Copenhagen. A 22-year-old Danish man has been arrested and will appear in court today.
The city's police chief said the suspect was known to mental health services and said there was nothing to indicate it was an act of terror. Kira Durkin has the latest.
Fortunately, in my mind.
Stuart, can we bring the pictures that Ranveer is referring to? I think we all, you're absolutely right, we all have the pictures of Boris Johnson. He held on to, it was when he was London Mayor, and he was holding on to Union flags and waving them, and he got stuck on a zip wire. Some time, wasn't there, when we all looked at that, or many people looked at that and thought, oh, you know, that's That's Boris. You know, there aren't many
Yes.
people who
he would trip
could...
up the stairs going up to big speeches and all of that, and it was sort of quirky London
would forget
on
his
the world
notes.
stage.
Yeah, and it was all like,
Yeah.
that's Boris, and it's all baked in. And then it all, you know, got a lot more serious. And find out why the Redknaps said...
For travel, news and weather, wherever you are.
See you in a moment. Now, Lorraine is here at 9. Lorraine, you have had a packed weekend.
I have.
And you've got a packed programme.
We have indeed. No,
Are looking forward to hearing what he's got to say because,
know.
you know, he has become, despite what he got sacked for, he's become sort of the moral arbiter on what
says
should be
all.
done with MPs about whom allegations are made. So it'd be absolutely fascinating hearing what he has to say.
Ask him about tractors,
Oh, I
Lorraine.
shall.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
No. Well, hopefully, Neil will clear all that up. Be good to hear from him. Lorraine, thanks very much
you.
indeed.
Thank you.
We will speak to the government minister who is doing the rounds this morning. It's Will Quince, and we're going to speak to him in about 10 minutes' time. Now, though, it's time for the competition. Your chance to win 80 grand and a brand new Jeep. Here's Andy.
Succeed yesterday in achieving your objective. And what was your objective?
Well, first up,
I mean, you'll know that Lewis Hamilton, one of the racing drivers yesterday,
Boris Johnson is reportedly facing a cabinet backlash as ministers express anger at being asked to defend the government over the latest sleaze allegations.
So fresh allegations have emerged about the disgraced Tory MP Chris Pincher, who resigned from his role as Deputy Chief Whip last Thursday. The Children and Families Minister Will to ask you, is a bit like being physically pummeled.
Morning, Susanna. Well, look, nobody...
The matter referring to Mr Pincher had been reported to them during the February reshuffle. The warning to the Whip's office in February is believed to have come from a Tory MP who was the subject of an unwanted pass from Mr Pincher. A second MP told The Guardian they raised allegations of sexual misconduct by Pincher with their whip. He said he'd told the Whip's office in February Pincher should not be in the job because he could not be trusted with young male staff. It shouldn't even have got as far as last Thursday, should it? So you've just discredited Dominic Cummings for saying that, but you don't know whether he called him that or not. You're just assuming what he didn't. He did.
Even if the Prime Minister didn't know the specific name and the specific act, he knew, and he decided to appoint him as the Deputy Chief Whip, which means leadership and pastoral responsibilities in Parliament for MPs with young staff. Doesn't it undermine your work as Children and Young People's Minister if the Prime Minister is seeming to be so careless about young people who work in Parliament?
Rumours, these are specific allegations and warnings. These individuals were trying to protect people.
We've got to ensure, Susanna, that
Absolutely nothing.
And Susanna, look,
The Prime Minister called him Pincher by name, Pincher by nature, and you can't deny that he said that. For some reason, you either asked Number 10 and they couldn't deny it, or you didn't ask about that specific phrase.
Susanna, I haven't asked about that specific phrase, but what I did ask...
Office source who acknowledged that a matter relating to Pincher had in fact been reported to them during the February reshuffle. Who should take responsibility for that then, if they were warned and he was made Deputy Chief Whip with responsibility for MPs' welfare?
Well,
it doesn't send a great signal to children and young people, does it?
Well, it does, Ed, that actually what we need to do...
Still to come. Back in the line, this is to Euro's glory. Former England captain Harry Redknapp